particular patient who is 96 years old. She's Cuban. She has been stateside for a while, but was born there. Her daughter is Cuban as well, Cuban American, excuse me, and was born here. Like I said, she's 96 years old. She came in and was admitted to our ICU for septic shock. So at this particular point in time, was able to make decisions on her own and partake in her care. Here's where it gets sticky. So I was assigned to the ICU floor with my field instructor, and she became one of our cases that we needed to handle. And the issue that we have been having is that this patient is 96 years old. So sometimes, depending on the age, there are certain medical procedures that shouldn't be done due to age and not being a candidate for certain procedures. So the daughter is a very pleasant woman, very, very pleasant, has been in visiting with her mother every day. Actually, the mother lived with her and her whole family, so they helped to take care of her. The problem is, even though the mother has been living in the States for the past 50, 60 years somewhat, she never really learned the English language. So there is a language barrier for her, and as well as for her medical team taking care of her. So the problem that we have been encountering is that the daughter was being used as a translator between the physicians, the nursing staff, social work staff, basically anybody who came into the room to relay the mother's wishes. At this point, it became apparent that the mother was having some difficulty and she needed to be intubated, which means that the doctors and nursing staff had to put a tube down her throat to help her breathe. The mother was shaking her head at this, did not want it. And here in the state of New Hampshire, we have what we call a surrogate healthcare decision maker, which can be basically anybody off the street that you appoint. Like, I could have a best friend, I could have my neighbor to help make medical decisions for me if I became incapacitated at the time. The woman, the mother, had no durable power of attorney to nominate somebody to help her make these decisions, or to, she didn't have her wishes written down. So at this particular point, the doctors have invoked the surrogate healthcare decision maker and made the daughter her surrogate healthcare decision maker. So the tricky part is now this woman, this 96-year-old patient of ours, now has a trach put in her throat to help her breathe because we could not wean her off of the vent. She also now has a feeding tube inserted in her belly. And it came down to the doctor basically saying to the daughter, this is what's going on. This is really not in the best interest for your mother. She's never going to come off of this. There's never going to be any quality of life in regards to this. And the daughter was adamant that, I don't care, this is what's going to be done. She needs to be, I want her to live till she's at least 106 years old. You need to trach her, you need to put a peg tube in her, and we need to keep her alive. Well, one of the intensivists, which is one of the doctors that helps in the ICU, recused himself from her care because he did not feel that this was within the patient's best interest. The patient has been struggling with all of these new adjustments that have been made as far as her trach and her peg tube put in. She has what they call a one-to-one, which means that she has a nursing staff in her room at all times because she is attempting to pull out her trach, she's attempting to pull out her peg tube because she does not want it. We have the lovely little talking boards at work that patients can write down if they're nonverbal or whatnot, what their pain level's at, how they're feeling. And she has done that and has made the hand motion of wiping her hands and basically saying that she's done. But because we now have this surrogate healthcare decision maker in place, the daughter now has free reign over her mother's care and what can be done, regardless of whether or not the patient is saying no. I'm not too familiar with this. This has been something new since the beginning of this year, I believe. I think it's this year. So I have just printed off some stuff in regards to what a surrogate healthcare decision maker actually can do and whatnot, to see if she's actually in her rights to do so. So at this point, the daughter is pushing for just about everything humanely possible for this woman to keep her alive, and this woman has stated that she does not want any more tubes. She wants the tube out. She wants the feeding tube out, and that's that. She understands that, you know, she will no longer be living once she comes off the trach and whatnot, but the daughter has decided against it. She says, and I quote, "I don't care what my mother wants. This is what's going to be done. This is what she needs to do. She doesn't know any better. She doesn't understand." Well, the woman does have some English. She does understand that she doesn't want this, that she knows that there is basically, she'll never get out of that bed. There's really not much that she can do. She is relying on that trach to help her breathe, and she is relying on the feeding tube to help her eat, because she cannot eat with the trach. So my question to you is, this case is actually being brought up to our ethics committee at work in regards to what to do with this particular patient and her family, and whether or not we need some extensive education in regards to the daughter as to the seriousness of her mother's condition, and that she really isn't going to get any better even though we have put a trach tube in her and we have given her a feeding tube. It's just going to prolong the inevitable, and obviously nobody wants to hear that their parent is dying. But at the same time, this woman is in pain. It's causing her an extreme amount of discomfort. She's getting very frustrated with not only with nursing staff and doctors and whatnot, but I think with the fact that nobody's listening to her. And that's just that was my observation from being in the room with her. She cannot speak because she does have the trach tube in, but she's constantly making the hand motions and pulling and basically just doesn't want any of it in anymore. So my question to you is, as far as a social worker goes, when you have found out that your wherever you're at, that you're having, somebody's using a family member as an interpreter, how do you feel about that? I feel that in this case, I think things got a little misconstrued because the daughter was a little one-sided and basically was basically doing it for her and not for her mother, because if she had, I'm assuming, I would hope, that if she had understood what her mother truly wanted, she probably wouldn't have done this. But I think it was mainly made all about the daughter, and basically the daughter interpreting for the mother and interpreting the wrong things, maybe. I'm not 100% positive. We don't usually have any situations where we have any problems with interpretation because there's not a really big population in my area for that. So there was an interpreter called in. Unfortunately, it was called in too late, and they ended up just canceling it. So, which is why this whole case is going to be brought before our ethics committee, because at this point now, this woman is going to be moved to a facility that will handle her trach and her peg tube. And we want to make sure that her best interests are going to be looked after. And there will be a family meeting being held with the daughter, I believe, at some point this week. Unfortunately, I won't be there for it, but I am looking forward to seeing what the outcome is. This has definitely been a different case, because I really haven't come across anybody kind of going against their parents' wishes, because anybody can revoke their DPOA at any point in time. I mean, I can write mine 5 minutes from now, and then 5 minutes later say, oh, you know what, I don't want it anymore. So I'm not sure if that's how a surrogate healthcare decision maker works. As I said, it's something new that I'm really not very familiar with, so I'm going to do a little bit of research into that. But I just wanted to know everybody's thoughts and feelings in regards to having the daughter interpret for the mother, and if you feel that maybe this could have been prevented if proper steps were taken. It's not, I don't think it's the nurse's fault. I don't think it's the doctor's fault. This is a situation that we don't usually deal with. And trying to have somebody interpret for somebody else is, and getting somebody into the hospital is quite the process. You have to have a contract with an interpreting company, and we really don't. So they just assumed that using the daughter would be okay. Oops, sorry, had a little delay there. So yeah, that's my that was my situation from last week. It's been this woman has been in our facility for about 3 weeks now, so it's been an ongoing process. It's kind of been very interesting to be a part of, to kind of go back and forth, which is unusual because one of the doctors that I work with is Cuban, and he's kind of a little surprised because they kind of, embrace the whole death and dying, and they do it as a family unit, and they kind of celebrate life. So he's, I think that this is, this came as a surprise to him when he became part of this case in regards to the daughter and how she is feeling. I'm not sure if he's spoken to her. I don't think that would really be ethical, but, so yeah, so that's my interesting case for the week in regards to ethics again, and using a family member as an interpreter, and seeing if maybe that was could have contributed to the outcome of this particular patient. Because as of right now, the patient is the one that is suffering at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see what the ethics committee comes back and says. I've never been a part of anything with our ethics committee in the hospital, so this is something brand new for me. So I will keep you all updated on that, and I hope you all have a great week. Thanks. Bye.